Thank you.
A one, a two, a 1, 2, 3, go. Subdued. Nice. That's okay. I don't have to do anything big and extravagant for you, do I? I want to talk about my last episode a little bit before I start and just acknowledge that it might have been a little bit spicy. I got a lot of feedback about that episode, about the potential harm for Saeed's wife. I think she'll be alright. I'm not trying to shame Saeed's wife by any means. I think that she's an amazing, beautiful, long-suffering woman. And I think she's just about to enter into the sort of cavalcade of long-suffering Maronite women, So for me, it's a conversation that I was having with her. I genuinely don't see what's so offensive about that. I'm genuinely concerned that Saeed's gonna turn into an abusive husband. I see a lot of the attitudes that my father upheld embodied in Saeed. For example, lying, stealing, calling the police in a cynical way. A lot of Saeed's friends are police, and I'm sure that he would have had a chat with them about what to do about poor little old me. Saeed's an abusive person. He abused his relationship with Sharb al-Jahja, and he abused his relationship with his clients at Bellevue Hill, and he abused his relationship with me. He's an abusive person, and I'm just letting his wife know. I suppose that's from my perspective, and I find that it's helpful for me, because really what this is me getting things off my chest, essentially. I think that's what Andrew's Clubhouse is. It's an opportunity for Andrew to get things off his chest and for the wider community to sort of get a glimpse of the psyche of someone that is struggling with significant mental health issues and is trying to navigate around a lot of trauma and abuse. There's also the element of my bipolar disorder, which means that oftentimes, not often anymore, but at times, I might be a little bit emotional, I'm finding that I've never really had control of my emotions, and talking helps, so when you sit down and you stew in your emotions and you don't speak, it just festers, and all of my support network has failed me, except, 80 to 90% of my support network have turned out to be abusers. So everyone, all of my first cousins, no. The overwhelming majority of my first cousins on my father's side have turned into toxic abusers. They abused me exactly like they abused my brother, exactly like they abused my Uncle Tony, exactly like they chewed up, spat out, and bashed my mother. That's exactly how they reacted to my mother. She was abused for years by my dad, and then Ami Marun's reaction was a shrug. He didn't have Mudgy to run away to at that point. He just had Ashfield. But that fact is extremely upsetting to me, and the emotions that arise from the realization that most of my family members are disgusting abusers that were just waiting to sort of chew me up. It's a lot to handle, and I'm navigating that without being violent, without being aggressive, without breaking the law, right? At the moment, I think the biggest transgression that I did in the last 6 months was send an aggressive audio message that I don't regret. See, that's the thing. I don't regret any of the messages that I sent because for me, it was me relieving myself of that anger in what I felt was a productive manner, which was an audio message. And it proved so successful that I transitioned from audio message on the Memo app to a lovely little global podcast because it's helpful to me getting things off my chest. That's all it is. Yeah. I don't think I ever really wanted to affect anyone. Saeed, Majid, all those disgusting creatures. I just wanted to vent, to get stuff off my chest. And what I realized is that family cannot handle the truth, unfortunately, and that's upsetting to me because all I wanted to vent was the truth about how I felt. I was angry, I was upset, and I am still angry and upset, and I'm trying to navigate those emotions. Here's a little top tip. The understanding, if you'd like to understand me and what I'm about, just listen to the intro. It's in the intro. The intro is an artwork. It's a 30-second audio piece. It's not for shits and giggles. I don't really do many things for shits and giggles. There's normally a rhyme and a reason for it. You ever considered why I'm speaking in a monotone sort of way? Did you notice the contrast of me speaking in a monotone way while there's fireworks and explosions and guns and animals going crazy around me? You notice that? Did you notice how I still said thank you? While there's a big war happening around me? Did you notice how I was all calm and collected? Andrew's Clubhouse, thank you. While people are shooting around me? Do you get it? Yeah. The reason why that's the intro is because that's a great symbolic representation of what I've been trying to do. Navigate this violent mess, this hullabaloo, this war. Trying to navigate it in a cool, calm, and collected manner. And I have failed many times. It's all good. Dude, my whole life is a failure. I was born into a world where my father was in prison. That's failure number one. Dude, I don't have a dad, right? I was born into a world handicapped. Dude, I'm all about failure. I know how to succeed after I fail. And I know that failing is a necessary process, right? Because I've done it so many times before. Do you think people like Saeed and Majid and Ami Maroon, can ever face their failures? No, because they're losers. Full stop. Sorry. I gave Ami Maroon... forget about what I gave. It does not matter. The answer to all of their stresses was simply in selling a house that they didn't want. And they refused to. Ami Maroon does not want Redfern. He told me how he is sick of it, how he just wants to sell it and do away with it. But why didn't he? Because a junkie convinced him otherwise. And he accepted the junkie's rationale so eagerly. It's almost as if Ami Maroon does not have any ethics of his own. and it's all borrowed by bad losers. Ami Sharbel, right? He's a bad loser because he is divorced. I don't calculate things in terms of money. That's the easiest way. Um, it's the easiest thing to get. Money's not a big deal. Look at Mark Toke, the filthy degenerate, let's just say. You know, think of Mark Toke's father and what he represents, right? But he's rich. He's rich, but broken. Ugh, the hell does money matter if you can't even get the basics right? Contract law, you idiot, right? That's the episode around Mark Toke was me getting um, uh, all that stuff off my chest. That's all it is. I got ripped off by Mark Toke, supposedly one of the richest men in New South Wales, which he obviously isn't. He's just a bum like everyone else and pretending. Um, but yeah, I was disgusted by Mark. I was disgusted by his project manager. That's my cousin, right? And he should have done better. He should have known better. But obviously he doesn't because he's still borrowing his ethics from his vile father. And just like so much, just how people are following the ethics of my vile father. You know, it's like one bad thing happens, and then that's the truth that they abide by. It's disgusting. It's like bad things happen, and as Christians, we're supposed to come together to resolve that bad thing, right? And move ever forward to grace, to light, to sky, to fucking paradise. I don't understand the deep cynicism of the Lebanese Maronite community in Sydney when the fundamental Christian ethic, okay, or one of the founding sort of principles of Christianity is hope, right? He died for us in the hopes that what? What did he die for us for? For shits and giggles? Jesus Christ, man. He died for us for a promise of a better tomorrow, right? And so many Lebanese Maronites in Sydney and in the world, in my opinion, stew in their misery. That's an insult. It's like, imagine that. Imagine if Jesus Christ just wanted to stew in his misery, in the passions. Like, Kazi, whip me some more. What the fuck, man? Dude, the Christian ethic is hope. Jesus Christ. The fuck is wrong with you people? It's love. It's compassion. It's truth. It's light. The hell, man? Saeed went to a drug addict who hates him. My father, right? Who does not care about Saeed in the least. And he asked him for advice. And what happened? Where did my dad send Saeed? To heaven, right? Or hell? The place that my father's familiar with. And I know my father. He's never lived in heaven. He's always lived in the hell that he's created for himself. That's why he's in Qatar. I mean, think of that disgusting house in Bazikta, a half-finished sort of representation of our family's, of the fracture in our family. You know, my father has this house in Bazikta, which is his father's house, which is supposed to be owned by his brothers and sisters, but he took it for himself, right? And he basically put a villa on top of stalks. It's just this disgusting kind of representation of everything bad about my father. And by the way, he built that with stolen money, stolen from his brother Maroon. Everything that my father's done, it's with stolen money. And I say stolen because he manipulates and lies to people to convince them to give him money, and he never gives it back. He's never paid anyone back. He just doesn't. It's not part of him. He's too bipolar, right? So thank you so much for giving me the money. All good. Year later, what money? Nah, F you. It's my money, right? His mood changes. I wonder why. This podcast is about me getting things off my chest, you know. And the people that I'm principally upset with is Saeed, my first cousin Saeed, my first cousin Majid, my uncle Maroon, and my father Majid. Funnily enough, not Charlie, right? Because with Charlie, it's all good. Number one, Mango King, he's commenting on the videos, great. Discourse, I love. And two, we get to go to court, right? So I get to have my day in court with him. So I don't have to worry about. So there's nothing for me to get off my chest because I'm going to have my day in court to get it off my chest, right? But there's no such occasion with my father, Ami Maroon, Saeed and Majid, because they've proven themselves to be utter disgraceful people and cowards, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that in this hateful, malicious way, right? I've been to court several times. This is how a magistrate talks. I'm being firm. Gee whiz. But yeah, probably magistrate doesn't use colorful language. But that's where I'm kind of aiming for. And by the way, just so people understand, there's an intention. There's an overall goal with these podcasts. I don't really care about the audience as much as I care about the podcast itself, because I see it as a product, like a little piece, an artwork almost, right? A little sort of form of self-expression. And for me, what I want to get to is sort of excellent oration skills. And I'm not there yet. I pause too much when I speak. I say a lot. My pronunciation is off oftentimes. And I smack my lips when I talk. I don't like that. My tongue, and you could sort of hear that sometimes, and I don't like it. I think I'm at the very, very beginning of this sort of like podcast oration skill journey. It's something that I like. It's something that gives me joy. It's something that makes me happy. It's simple. I don't care if it offends people. Sorry, rather, if it offends people, that's not my intention. My intention is to get things off my chest in a manner that is pleasing to the listener, right? And sometimes things on my chest are things like academic stuff. Oh, okay, yeah, so here's one. Thus Spoke Zarathustra, right, by Friedrich Nietzsche, is the same as Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, right? Except one is cynicism and one is idealism, right? And that's fascinated me. I'm pretty sure Thus Spoke Zarathustra came out first, but Khalil Gibran ripped it off, right? The whole concept of someone coming down from the mountain and bestowing wisdom upon the, simple lowly folk, that's as Nietzsche, right? That's Friedrich Nietzsche. And so I always wondered why Khalil Gibran was the idealist and Friedrich Nietzsche was the cynic. And I'm finding out that I think the answer is psychological, because Friedrich Nietzsche suffered from mania, like this guy right here, right? And if you're a cynic, right, and you're susceptible to mania, it'll eat you alive, because you sort of just get wrapped up in the emotion of it all, right? And when you read Nietzsche, he's not as much of a philosopher as he is a social critic, or a critic in general. I sort of think of him almost like as a debate bro, but he was ruled by his emotion, let's just say, right? So much so it crippled him. He couldn't even marry the woman that he was in love with, because he was too scared to propose to her. He got his friend to propose to her. Kind of sounds like my dad, like he's always scared to do things directly himself, so he gets other people to do it for him. That doesn't, like my dad thinks that means that he's a leader because he can get people to do things. I always thought that it's because he's lazy and because he can't do it himself, he gets other people to do it. It's actually kind of a bad thing. And that's one thing that I look forward to getting off my chest, right? Thinking about Friedrich Nietzsche and how he was struggling with mania like me, right? And rethinking about Twilight of the Idols and Thus Spoke Zarathustra as almost kind of like insight into someone's mental health and psychological disposition. I think that's a good way to read. Perhaps Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And Khalil Gibran is an idealist, right? And so his prose were a lot more positive, right? But it's almost like I always found that those two books, it's almost like they're having a debate with each other, right? About what the true sort of what true wisdom is. Is true wisdom essentially something that gives you hope, right, and love and beauty, or is true wisdom something that sort of weighs you down and breaks you, right? Something that is fills you with aggression, sadness, and despair. I know the answer to the question, right? It's all in the Christian ethic. It's like, did God die for shits and giggles, right? Or did God die for a reason? And what is that reason? For shits and giggles, right? Just ask yourself that. Did he die for? So we can whinge and whine about our mental health problems? Ugh. Or, so we can understand that there's something to hope for, there's something to strive for, because there's something guaranteed at the end, right? Heaven, right? Let's just say, quote unquote. I don't want to be too spiritual about this, right? But I'm just talking about metaphor and symbolism. He died for a reason, right? Not for us to keep being miserable, right? The truth of the Christian ethic isn't in the passion, it's in the resurrection, right? It's a celebration after the resurrection, but it's something that we certainly have to come to terms with and understand. But it's nothing that I don't think we're supposed to stew in it, right? Anyway, that's just my little 2 cents about it. Yeah. So the entire family situation with me and their reaction to my mental health was them kind of leaning against their worst instincts, which is, what, he's acting odd, so he must be the devil? I don't know. It was so odd that their reaction wasn't like, oh no. It was so odd that their reaction wasn't like my sister and my mother. Like, oh no, there's something wrong with Andrew, we need to help him. My Uncle Maroon's reaction, Saeed and Majid's reaction, my dad's reaction was, F this guy, we need to destroy his life because he's inconvenient for us. And they had a really, really go at ruining my life while, another cousin died. Good on them, for helping me in my time of need. I appreciate that. And I'll remember that. I'll remember the kind of people that they are, right? Because it's past forgiveness, and it's in the realm of a cautionary tale, right? I need to remember the lessons that I learned in the last 6 months, and they need to learn the lessons about me. I don't like being dismissed, and they dismiss me, and I think they're learning how upsetting that is to me and how vindictive I can be, I suppose. But all that sort of vindictiveness is in the past. What there is now is me trying to move forward in the future, but also, still trying to process my anger towards my father, processing my anger towards Saeed, processing my anger towards Majid, and processing my anger towards Maroon, right? And if there are other people in the way, then I'm sorry, but why the heck are you in the way? No, that's not fair. It's not like Saeed's wife was in the way, but I really do feel like she needs to hear what I have to say. I genuinely think that Saeed would cheat on Christina because of his sexual proclivity, right? I mean, remember, he went to my father for guidance, right? The sex addict junkie, right? He hasn't changed, right? He may think he has, but the people that he allies with are bad people, and his wife needs to sort of know that, right? Otherwise, their marriage will be, founded on a lie, right? And for me, truth is a fundamental part of the Christian ethic. Saeed, engage in a sexual activity with a woman of the night in Thailand and hurt her so much that he traumatized her. Okay? He would shove ecstasy pills up his ass that were, he'd put ecstasy pills in a condom and then shove them up his ass and sell them, right? When he doesn't like what his clients have to say about him and his work ethic, right? He threatens them, right? When he buys a property, or his mother buys a property with a cousin, they just neglect that cousin. Remember, that cousin that bought the property, Mudgy, with Saeed's mum, paid half of the deposit, right? So he's owed half of the property, and they only ever treated it like it was their property. I forgot that it was owned by someone else. And it turns out it's not even owned by Saeed or Majid, it's his mum. So they can't even use the equity. Hey. Bad business decision, bad ethical decision with Mudgy, Bellevue Hill. It's just a long pattern. And no one was saying anything about it, So, what did he do to me? Consider what he did to me. My God, he called the police several times. I thought we were raised not to call the police. What happened? I mean, I'm struggling with a mental health issue. I legitimately have a doctor's certificate. What the fuck was Saeed's excuse and Majid's excuse and Ami Maroon's excuse and my dad's excuse? What, that they weren't happy with the investments that I made while I was under extreme pressure? Sorry, I didn't do a perfect job. My God. That's why they reacted the way that they reacted, and it's still upsetting. And I don't know how long it'll take for the emotions to be processed, but not long, What I found out was that I'm really upset at my father because of his dismissive nature with regard to 15 Otto Street. After 6 months of this aggressive campaign, right, of shaming him in front of the family, what did he have to say to me? I'm going to step on your neck and we are working on my time, not your time. A little bit hurtful, a little bit frustrating, I feel like I'm exercising an extraordinary amount of restraint. I'm quite proud of myself for that. Because essentially this is really just about me and my mental health, right? And trying to get back to 100%, right? If this is something that, slowly sort of pushes the if this podcast helps, then it helps. And I think it is helping. And it feels great to do. Quite proud of it. I give myself a little pat on the back for it. All right. Love you. Bye.